We're going to bring Egberto into the broadcast. We're going to get a national political update. He only has a few minutes with us this morning. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, Miss Shealey. How are you doing today? Hi, Robby. Hi, David.
Hi, Egberto. Good to see you.
What's
Great to see you guys.
Egberto, across this nation? What's going on?
Well, I hate to bring the big T word into it, but you know the big T is the name of the game right now. Last night, a news story broke. Oh my God, he told somebody to go out there and lie for him, and the whole news media is going crazy. Oh my God, the end of the world is coming. Trump is finally going to jail. Absolutely not. Trump is a tool, and he is a necessary tool for these guys. This is all a charade. And while we talk real issues, the whole country, with a bad and horrendous media that we have out there, is hyperventilating about Russia, Trump, shutdown, and nothing for everybody else that for issues that really matter. So that is the state of the union.
Oh gosh, Egberto.
But I tell you what, I've sat back listening to your conversation, and I do have one little interjection that I'd like to add, and I have this question for David. David, do you think racism is a social construct and nothing more?
That's a really important question. I would not describe it that way. I would say that it's actually a ruling class social control formation. All right. That is very different from simply saying it's a social construct, which is kind of generic and abstract. The white race, and I'm really trying to focus on that aspect, not about identity politics and other things that I think are really a distraction from thinking clearly. There's only one race in this country, and that's the white race. Everybody else is African American, Latinx, or whatever you want to call it. But there is a unique cross-class social formation, the white race, that draws working class white people into the orbit and into the service of the ruling elite by claiming that there is this identity which is reinforced by selective and unequal preferences that are given to European American working people that create the illusion that they have a common interest with the ruling elite. And that has been gradually eroding. In other words, the differences, the status differences, have been gradually eroding, and the opioid epidemic is just one symptom of that erosion. And when you have that kind of erosion and anger and fury, that is the result of the status anxiety, right? The only way to appeal to it, because you can't give them money, the only way to appeal to it is by upping the ante. Trump, it represents the switch from dog whistle to megaphone. But
David, let me stop you there, because I really like what you had to say there, and I listened to you a couple of times, and I think that is the plainest you put that. And the most important part that I think you stated there is the portion about the ruling class and bringing white people into believing they're a part of that class. And I don't know if Robby remembers that we had a discussion in the last time when I said I wanted to take a little bit off of race. I don't know if you remember that, Robby.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
And it centers exactly onto a part of what David had to say, and that is the white working class somehow believing that they are Trumpian or they are the same as Trump. And one is the interesting thing about a blog that I wrote a few weeks ago is I brought in Bob Johnson, who is a black guy who started BET. Mm-hmm. He went on CNBC and made some comments, and there was no difference between what he had to say and what the Trump type elites would say, which meant that the reality is the fight really should be what I've always spoken about, and which is until we get the barrios, the ghettos, and Appalachia thinking on the same theme, we aren't solving the problem. And that's the reason I try to take race out of many of the discussions that I talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really trying to kind of hold a tension there, because the tension is that race and class interact with each other. You know, they don't. They're not just parallel tracks or intersections. You know, this is the new language, is intersectionality.
Oh, intersectionality. I'll just put it bluntly. As a white man, that's your job. As a white man, it is your job to have white.
Yeah.
As a white man, it is your job. As an enlightened white man, it is your job to enlighten white people to see the truth. Yes. As a black man who white people won't originally or necessarily listen to because they'll be thinking I'm coming from a black perspective, I can show the intersectionality, what you're talking about, the intersectionality of our condition. Yeah,
yeah. Well, as I say, I think of it more as interactionality rather than intersection.
I'll take that.
And and I agree with you absolutely. My position is that I'm a not non-white. Okay. In other words, I use that term white, meaning that this is people who think and act white, as opposed to thinking and acting as part of the working class. Right. And so class consciousness and white consciousness are at war with each other within individual Europeans, European Americans, and in the society as a whole. And yes, I think you're absolutely right. One of the big issues for us is to figure out a way so that those European Americans who think and act white stop what they're doing. Just stop.
So true.
Let me tell you how not to do it, because I learned the hard way. I thought my pale, privileged self could get in these communities and just reason with logic. And then I learned when that went, look at it. No. There's like, no. All they did was piss everybody off.
Yeah.
There is such an emotional component behind this that has to be factored in delivery.
Well, one of the reasons that I've been suggesting and proposing this idea about stories is because stories are the way in which people listen to one another.
I wanted to kind of, before give us like one more minute, Egberto, I wanted you to talk about the shutdown, and you know how I feel about what's going on with this government shutdown. I feel like Democrats and Republicans need to get it together. There was a legislator out in Montana, I believe it was, that introduced a bill, no work, no pay, so that legislators can't continue to get their paychecks if 800,000 plus people in this country aren't getting theirs. So give us 30 seconds, Egberto, on this government shutdown, and then we will have you back next week to continue to give us a national update.
My third thing is I want Nancy Pelosi to play her cards exactly the way she's playing her cards. No! I know a lot of people don't like it. She needs to do absolutely nothing, because what America needs to see once and for all is what this president is going to do, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. A lot of people will be hurt, and the economy is going to suffer. But that is better to handle that now than to wait for the debt crisis that's going to come in March, in which case he would have proven that he can hold the country hostage. Better to hold it on this government shutdown than to have to fight this battle again with the upcoming things.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll have Egberto back next week.
Yeah,
Egberto, I'm gonna trust you and David on this one. This is like what we need at the moment, but it pisses me off and it makes me very like angry, uncomfortable. It's like, because I feel like we need to fix it. We need to fix it now. Okay.
David, if Tamara says she trusts David and Egberto, now it's time for me to go. You guys have a wonderful rest of the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck, huh, Egberto?